$23.7 million. That's what I got a company to pay our company. You see, I was the lead negotiator for a Fortune 50 company, and we were doing a streaming deal with a media company. And so I needed to really hone the value of that deal so that I'd have the confidence to advocate for myself, to advocate for the business. So I'm going to illustrate with my stories today why it's important for you to really think about your value so you can naturally advocate. So it took me a few weeks to really hone that value. I practiced the pitch and the narrative so that they would really understand the value. And I practiced that number over and over again, probably 100 times, saying it with confidence so that when I said it in the room, I would believe it, so they would believe it. We flew to New York, to the heart of Manhattan, where the meeting was. We went up to the 35th floor. It was this big high-rise. We were asked to go into the boardroom that overlooked the city streets. It was a big deal. On their side, all their senior staff, because this was a strategic deal. On our side, our general counsel, my boss, and my boss's boss. No pressure. So I went through the presentation, and you could have heard, it was so silent, no comments, nothing. And I got to the end, and then with confidence I said, and for all of this, you can get this for $23.7 million. It was really awkward. Nobody said anything. And then finally, in disbelief actually, they agreed. They agreed to the deal. To be completely honest though, I could stay calm, cool, and collected for the company, but had I been advocating for myself, I wouldn't have even gotten in the room. But that day, people saw my value. I started being known for somebody that could make the deal happen. So I started understanding my value by drafting off of people around me. It's like I took puzzle pieces of what people would say about me. You know when you're doing a puzzle with a family, right? And each person has their own piece and they start putting the puzzle together and you see a corner start coming, you kind of understand what that picture's looking like. That's how I looked at myself in my career. I thought, if they all believe this about me, I'm gonna believe this about me. I remember in college, Ed Sardella came to our campus. He was the major news anchor. My mom loved Ed Sardella. He came to our campus so he could tell us how he got to the height of his career. So he was telling us about his journey. I'll never forget, he said, the best thing that happened to me was I was fired. I was like, I stopped listening right there. I was like, you are such a liar. How could that be the best thing that ever happened to you? And at that moment, I thought, I'm not following that path. That is not one thing that I'm gonna experience for me. I'll leave that to Ed. And I think subconsciously in that time I thought, I'm not gonna make big waves. I'm not gonna risk too much. I'm gonna advocate for the business. I'm gonna advocate for the people around me and just, let it happen. So after that deal, I got a great reputation. They started giving me more deals and I built great relationships. I learned how to really hone the value of the deal, believe it myself, so that my confidence would be really high so that I could advocate for the business. I was really good. People gave me a lot of accolades. I did so well that my client from 10 years had just acquired 10 technical facilities all around the world. And he said, I want you to work for me. His name was Brad. I thought, wow, this is a great step for my career. I would be overseeing the portfolio of all the media contracts for this business. I thought, this is great. It was really good until about 2 years when Brad said to me, I need you to get on a plane, come to LA, we need to talk. But until then, it was really great. I started and I thought, we're gonna be the best in the business, all of us together. I thought, I'd done corporate politics. I can handle all of this. Totally different game. But I wanted to advocate for the business and the people around me. I didn't want to make many waves, so I focused on being recognized, working hard, and knowing that I'll be rewarded for what happens. So about 2 years in, there was an offsite meeting, and Brad was there. He brought all the sales leaders together, and he said, what do we need to do to take our customer service to the next level? And like I always did, I spoke openly and honestly, and I said, we need to invest in our Atlanta facility because they need more resources to really bring up our game. Didn't think much of that comment. The next week, our biggest client came to us. They called me first, and they said, we're going to cover the Olympics. And you, as our business partner, our technical operations partner, we need to integrate some really on-air effects for the games. It was a really cool project. So as the lead, I brought together, we'd do it out of our Atlanta facility. So I got a call together with our client from New York, our Atlanta consortium, Jim, the president of the Atlanta facility, along with the engineering and operations staff, and I was based in Denver at the time, the only remote employee. So when you have a scope call like this, you're gathering all the information about what you need to integrate for the games so we could make the on-air look really great. So all the engineering teams and the customer had to talk about everything. And when you get done, everybody gets quotes and things for me, and I put together a proposal. So at the end of that call, Jim, the president of the Atlanta division, said, you'll have a proposal by the close of business on Thursday, and it'll be delivered by Susie. So we got off the phone. That was a Monday. Tuesday came, didn't hear much. That wasn't unexpected because the guys needed to pull the quotes from the different vendors. They needed to get those together. It was important that they got that because it was still a high dollar proposal. Wednesday came and it was still really quiet. And I thought, maybe I should call Brad and tell him nobody had given me the information I needed and we're working on this proposal. And I thought, no, you know what? I don't want to get anybody in trouble. So Thursday came and I reached out to people, emailed, called. Nobody called me back, totally silent. But I knew we had to advocate. I knew we had to get that proposal out because we had promised that we'd give them the proposal. So by midday, I was flooded with emotion. I was so worried. I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew we had to get that together. So I took it upon myself, took some old quotes, got everything together, put together a great proposal, pretty conservative. And I got an email together, copied our client, copied our Jim, the head of the facility, along with all the engineering and operations staff, and I pressed send. Friday, didn't hear anything, and then Monday came, and I thought, oh my gosh, meetings started falling off my calendar. People are not talking to me. I didn't know what was going on. Tuesday, again, I reached out to Brad, actually, just to touch base, see what was going on. I called him, his assistant said he'd call me back. It wasn't until Thursday that I got that email from Brad. He said, I need you to fly to LA. We need to have a conversation. My executive coach told me, this is probably pretty bad. You should get ready. You should ask for something. You should tell them what happened to you, that they're blaming you. And I just was flooded with emotion. And I flew to LA, walked in, and Brad said to me, your actions give me no choice, but you're fired. It took me a couple weeks to figure out what happened because the emotion had to kind of drain out of me. And I realized Jim, the president of that division, was threatened by what I said. He took it as a threat that I said that he needed to up his game. And he knew I wouldn't advocate for myself. So when that email went to the customer, he forwarded it to Brad. And he said, she'd gone rogue. She didn't include any of us. We had no idea this was going on. So it was hard. I remember I told everybody that my job was eliminated because they moved it to New York City and I had kids and I wasn't going to move. that was the story, it wasn't the truth. I knew I needed to really understand my value. I needed to regain that. So I started figuring out what I needed to do. You know what the first thing I did actually is I went and got professional pictures taken. I don't know why, but when those pictures came back, I realized so I could see myself from the outside with the emotion and know that I would be okay. So I started getting the stories from the people who know me, and I started gathering those puzzles again, those pieces, so I could kind of see my value. But I had learned from getting fired that I needed to start advocating for me and believing in my own value. So I started putting those pieces together, and I started listening to what people said about me, and I started really embody that. So when people would say, I remember somebody said, Susie's a professional speaker. And I thought, wow, I better act like one. So I'd take a piece and be like, I am a professional speaker. Or somebody said, she's a closer. Oh, I didn't feel like a closer. But I thought, they believe I am, and I was. So I started really honing my value. Because when you understand your value, you gain confidence. And when you do that every day, you advocate for yourself. And advocate meaning you say, yes, I'll try that, even though it's something you've never done before. It kind of opens up your eyes to, oh, why did they get that? Why not me? So advocating is seeing these opportunities around you. And when you have confidence, it's almost like it opens up this third dimension, this other world. So one thing I want to teach you how to do that. Whether you're in your career and you should ask for more money, or you're just starting your job trajectory and it's happening to you and you're not in it or making it happen. Or if you simply are kind of intimidated to ask somebody, a senior person, out to coffee, I want you to start collecting your pieces of your puzzle and understand your value so you can keep that confidence up to advocate for you. So this is what we're going to do. Let's try this. So I'm going to take my invisible piece of paper here. I'm going to roll it out. I'm going to write something that I value about myself. I am my biggest advocate. I'm going to put this over my head. And when I do, I feel it. I'm my biggest advocate. And you read this and you think, you believe it, because everybody values us more than we value ourselves. So I feel this. And I gave you all your own invisible piece of paper. So I want you to unroll it now. Literally unroll yours. And take your invisible pencil. And I want you to write what you value about you. Write it down. Write it down right now. Good. Now put it over your head. And even if there's not room with people next to you, that's it. I love it. I am confident. I am brave. I am smart. I believe you. I believe you. And when you put your hands up, don't you feel it too? So you have this now with you all the time. And if you do this every day, even if no one's around, write down what you value about yourself that day and put it up over your head. And even if no one can see it, you know it. And if you say it out loud, I am my biggest advocate, you believe it and you see it and you keep that confidence up. So that when those moments you have those glasses to see those opportunities that are around you, you're more likely to just say yes because you have confidence in yourself. So keep that advocacy for yourself. Really think about your value every day. Keep your tank full. Because when I know you can advocate for yourself, even if you get fired. Thank you.